Welcome to Reading RS. We like reading interesting Reddit stories out loud for your entertainment. Please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe.
Part 2. My husband is currently on a vacation with his mistress, and I'm confronting them. Out for a swim. When I took this dive into the Reddit community, I had no idea where I would land. I thought my feet would hit shallow ground, and I would be ankle deep on the banks in an uncomfortable swimsuit all alone. But to my surprise, this deep ocean of Reddit readers have engulfed me into their warm waters, and I am surrounded by a sea of support. For this I am thankful. I am also so touched by the droves of people who have reached out for advice, or offered their own experiences as lessons to be learned. To the one seeking advice, I tell them, I am not an expert swimmer. I am merely doggy paddling through the sea of hurt and confusion. Please don't use me as a sign of strength. Because the truth is, I am not strong, I am you. I am the woman who reads, because they are suspicious of late-night phone calls her husband takes. I am the spouse who has shouldered the entire family, and is in desperate need of support. I am the woman who misses affection from her husband who is next to her in bed every night. I am you. To those people who have yet to catch their partner cheating but are suspicious, trust your gut. Cheating is a coward's choice, so be braver than them, and face the truth. To the spouse who is the fixer and takes on every challenge, take a step back. When you help, even with good intention, you are actually just hurting yourself. To the spouse who has tried everything to receive physical attention from their partner, but to no avail, their affection is probably going somewhere else. These are lessons I wish I could have told myself months, if not years ago. Listen to me. Or just listen to you. To the sharks in water who call me a bad mom, a crazy bitch, fake, or even just think I'm out of my mind, you will find no blood in this water. So it's best you move on and find a thread where the op will chum the water for you. It's so very easy to read and judge, this I understand. I just hope that, if this ever happens to you, that you will be as brave, logical, and compassed as you expect others to be. If not, you will find sharks circling you as well. So I hope you are as strong of a swimmer as you claim to be. If you are still reading, my saga survival continues. Our final mediation papers will arrive this week. We were able to settle everything at the last meeting on 1/12, and the documents just need our signature. After that, the divorce papers need to be served and filed with the county. Then we await our court date, which will be done via Zoom. Yes, a bit anticlimactic, but it will still serve its purpose of divorcing. He has started, finally, to look for an apartment, but nothing is to his satisfaction. Maybe he is being picky, or maybe he is comfortable living in the basement. Either way, once the divorce papers are stamped, he needs to be gone. He has started making phone calls to her during the day, and I can hear him giggling downstairs. I'm happy he is happy, I really am. That isn't passive-aggressive. I know I will be happy one day too. He just got there first, and that's okay. I feel like my life is in limbo right now. I can't move forward because I'm chained to the past. I'm hoping his move will be soon. I suspect he wants out for February 1st, so he can go visit her for Valentine's Day. I hope for his sake, and mine, that he makes his deadline. I will update again after I receive the mediation paperwork and divorce papers are served. I'm sure that will stir up a lot of thought and emotion, so I'm certain it will be a doozy. Till then, I'll keep doggy paddling. Souvenirs. If you have been following along, then you know that there was a chance he would leave for Valentine's Day to go visit her. Well, he left this morning. He told the kids, I'm going, as he walked out the door, leaving me to explain a few hours later that he had to leave to work when they started asking for him. I have learned that I can't have expectations. Just because I would try to be more honest with the kids doesn't mean he would. I was really proud of the fact that I didn't even engage him in the discussion, debate, argument of going. Yes, I had loudly vocalized some feelings a week ago when he told me he was going, but I have not engaged him about it since. All I asked was for his flight info, so that I would know when to expect him back. He did not provide this information. Maybe he thinks I'm not entitled to it. Either way, he left and I was fine. While we had the conversation multiple times, in which he agreed that he would not visit her again till he had an apartment, he has reneged on that agreement. Shocker. He claims that he has every right to be here, which he does legally, and he can do as he pleases. He put a down payment on an apartment a few days ago, but says he doesn't know when he is moving. What? The bills he pays in the house are less than the child support he will have to pay, so I think his decision to stay longer might be a financial one. I've offered him any piece of furniture he wants in the house. I even offered to pay for half of the cost of bunk beds for the boys. I just need him to leave. I have no idea Why he is dragging his feet. But I learned through a mutual friend and former work colleague of theirs that she recently had COVID. When I say recently, I mean the Board of Health from her state said she could stop quarantining 3 days ago. But what about her kids that are in the home? Were they living there during her quarantine? Are they positive? Perhaps they are asymptomatic? Will my 𝗪𝗵𝗲 be bringing me and our children home a COVID souvenir? I'm livid. COVID insensitivity. For all those messaging me with concern and for updates, I apologize for my tardiness. It has been a heartbreaking 2 weeks. To amend for my absence, I will be posting 2 updates tonight. Let me start from the beginning. My 𝗪𝗵𝗲 left for his getaway on 2/12 and did not return until 2/15. During his blissful vacation, my family and I suffered a great loss of one of our most beloved member to COVID. I was a mess. Everyone I love was devastated. I called my 𝗪𝗵𝗲 on 2/13 and told him the prognosis was not good. It was loud where he was. There were children yelling. He informed me he was outside with her kids. Wow. Can't remember the last time he took our children outside, but I digress. I shouldn't have expected him to care about my bad news, but he was concerned. I guess there is still a decent bone somewhere in him. That concern would not last long though. Upon his return, as he usually does, he schedules a COVID test. He scheduled one for 4 days after his return, but due to snow in our area he did not go. This I understand, the weather cannot be controlled. Then he told me he is scheduled for 4 days later, and then does not go. When I questioned him, his response was, "I feel fine." I suspected since she probably got a negative COVID test shortly before his arrival, he felt safe in not getting one. Not until Monday, 3/1, did he finally get tested. A full 2 weeks later. Why? You know, my family just suffered a terrible loss to COVID. How could you be so reckless and insensitive? The insensitive question is rhetorical. I obviously know the answer already. The real monster. The day is approaching. Large boxes are being delivered to the house daily containing new furniture to be assembled. The sounds of packing tape being ripped from the spool flood the house every evening. He's moving out. I'm overjoyed. I'm so happy that I have actually started engaging him in conversation. Yes, we have to chat to figure out child support and scheduling, but now I'm so ecstatic he's leaving I even ask about his move. I feel like a kid at Christmas. While we were discussing his move, what he would be taking from the home, and the schedule for seeing the children, I asked if he planned to visit her. No, this wasn't me prying. We need to set an overnight and weekend schedule for the kids, and I was hoping to be accommodating to any trips he had planned. But then my curiosity got the best of me, but for a good reason. Our children. I asked if she plans to come here to meet the kids. He replied in the affirmative and said she may come. Well, good for you both, but I would like to meet her before she meets the children. He went silent. I could tell he was rolling thoughts around in his head, or perhaps trying to figure a way out of the situation, but he came up empty. He honestly wanted to know why I needed to meet her. Excuse me, come again? Do you really think I would let my children spend time with someone I didn't know? I'm the mother that interviews babysitters. Why would you think I wouldn't want to meet her? He claims to be worried that I won't be civil, but he knows me better than that. I have nothing to gain being rude to her. It's just ammo. I refuse to play that game. Plus, why would I care? I don't want him. That's your prize now, honey, congrats. But he recognizes that he can't stop me in this. I have every right to meet her as he would to meet someone I am dating. When it comes to the kids, we can't keep secrets. I think the real concern about us meeting is this: she will realize I'm not the horrible monster he made me out to be. His plans of assassinating my character, to build himself up or to receive pity from her, and the constant gaslighting will be revealed. She will see that I am not pining over him, quarreling with him, and that I'm genuinely a good person. Maybe she will see that he might be the real monster. Like father, like son. My 𝗪𝗵𝗲 was quiet. More quiet than usual. Almost sulking. I don't understand his motivations anymore, and what he actually cares about, so I left it alone. Not my business to care and comfort anymore, right? That evening, after the children went to bed, he sat alone at the dining room table. It was as if he was waiting for me to address him. I did not. Sulk, that's your issue, not mine. After he received no attention from me, he made the big announcement. He claims he told everyone what happened between us, including his father. Then, oddly enough, he started to cry. Full ugly tears. I thought these were tears of embarrassment and shame. He then proceeded to tell me the conversation he had with his father was the first time his dad has actually acted like a father towards him. While that statement in itself is unsettling, it is also confusing. I'm guessing his father supported him? I know if this was my son I'd support him, but also have some strong words about how he went about this and how he should probably proceed in the future. But it looks like he received 100% support. So while I understand, I don't understand. Something was wrong here. Last week was my youngest son's birthday. I had asked my 𝗪𝗵𝗲 if he would like to invite his father over for cake. He texted him several times with no response. He learned through their conversation confession last night that his father was in another state for work. Okay, understandable. But here's the kicker, he went away with a new girl he is dating. Why is this strange, you ask? He just asked his wife of 30 years for a divorce at the end of January. So this makes me think, is adultery a learned behavior? 𝗪𝗵𝗲 abandoned my 𝗪𝗵𝗲 when he was 9 years old, the same age as my eldest son now. Is there a pattern here? Or is all this just a crazy coincidence? I could not help myself, I messaged 𝗪𝗵𝗲. She confirmed they were divorcing. I asked if there was any infidelity, and she claims to her knowledge, no. But I know better. She said that 𝗪𝗵𝗲 started to withdraw from her. He started picking fights for no reason, and avoided interacting with her last fall. Then in January he said he wanted a divorce, so that he could find himself. A man who is in his 60s, close to retirement, needs to find himself? Sounds like a cop-out to me. But now that I've learned there is another woman, which 𝗪𝗲𝗲 does not know, I understand that this bloodline of men are truly selfish and unfit partners. I know all the comments will tell me to tell 𝗪𝗲𝗲 about the infidelity on his part, and I plan on doing so. I just need a little more information before I break the news to her. Moving trucks and spilled tea. It happened. Finally. He's gone. My basement is so empty and quiet it echoes. The day he moved, a box truck pulled up to my house, and my children ran to the window to watch. I didn't know how to distract them as I was working. I was able to pull them away from the window with the promise of treats once they were at the table to do schoolwork. My youngest though would not budge. After 45 minutes of loading, the truck pulled away, and my 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗃 drove off. My youngest came away from the window looking sad. I immediately talked to him and tried to comfort him. After a few moments he asked, "Is the truck coming back?" I was confused. I told him that we were staying here and no one else was moving. Apparently he wasn't upset that Daddy was leaving. He just wanted the truck. I'm not sure how I should feel about this. I made appointments with a child therapist for both my kids. While they seem fine now, I'm not sure what the future holds for their mental state. I'm afraid this will be repressed and issues will arise down the road. His friends have been reaching out to me. Now that they know what happened, I'm getting text and Facebook messages asking how I am. I know in reality they are just being nosy. They may care a little, but they just want me to spill the tea. Welp, I put the kettle on. I wasn't surprised to learn that my 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗃 wasn't completely honest with them. He failed to mention traveling during a pandemic to visit her. I guess that would make him look reckless? Selfish? Idiotic? The wives of his friends are in shock. They considered my 𝗪𝗵𝗃 a friend that could be trusted, a man who had it all together. Basically, they trusted my 𝗪𝗵𝗃 would be a good influence on their husbands. Boy, were they wrong. Concerning my mother-in-law, I have not told her. This is because I don't have any real information. What I did tell her, was to do some investigating to see if he is having an affair. This would be to her benefit as her state has adultery laws. They are still legally married and living in the same house, so to my knowledge, the law applies. But she seems hesitant. I think she is just afraid to find out the truth, and then she has to look at him every day. This I understand. No person's spouse should have to experience that. I know it was gut-wrenching for me, and perhaps many of you reading can relate as well. I just don't want to be the one to tell her. Perhaps this is because I'm still upset I had to find out on my own, and my 𝗪𝗵𝗃 was too much of a coward to come clean. Why should a cheating spouse get the thrill of cheating and be relieved of the burden of having to confess? Final fight with insight. Before the move, my 𝗪𝗵𝗃 and I had one last argument. But in this argument a big piece of information was leaked on his behalf. He demanded to know why we failed as partners. I'm not sure why he is asking me why we failed, if he is the one that cheated. I gave him the same reasoning I gave him months ago, when we talked about this. He said that answer was bullshit. How can my opinion or insight be bullshit? Let me explain. My 𝗪𝗵𝗃 and I were great, before kids and responsibilities. But when other people, our children, and responsibilities, work, bills, house upkeep, came into play, things changed. Honestly, He didn't like that our honeymoon phase was over. That's what he loves the most, and why his shiny new relationship is so appealing. He didn't like that our money for nights out now went to plumbers, school clothes and the gas bill. Was this another case of being a narcissist and needing all the attention? Perhaps so. Could I have done better to make him a priority? Probably, but then something else of importance would have been neglected. Perhaps if he would have helped me carry the load and took more responsibility, there would be more time for us. I was the parent that went to every school function. I took the kids food shopping with me on a Saturday so he could have some relaxed time. I made all the meals. I did the doctor appointments. I called the repairmen. I bought the clothing. I cut coupons. I tended to sick children. I gave baths. I made plans to visit his family, etc. Long story short, the list of responsibilities he had was minimal or close to non-existent. I just always thought we would, more like I would, sacrifice and work now, only to relax and enjoy later. Maybe that was my mistake. But I showed my love for him daily and always did for him. I did more, so he could do less, and enjoy his free time, and be happy and relaxed. Because when he was stressed, the whole house was tense. But that's a story for another day. What this conversation did shed light on was his reasoning for talking to her. The reason I suspected: attention. He confessed she gave him attention whenever he wanted it. Everything was about him. Sure, that's easy to do when your relationship is simply text messages and phone calls. But what happens when it's real and daily? I asked him what happens when he moves there and she starts putting her children first? Or her work becomes a priority? Or they struggle with bills? You know, real life and all. He had no answers. I asked what happens when this fantasy long-distance romance becomes a tough, daily reality. Again, I don't think he thought that far in advance. Can he stay on his best boyfriend behavior? Can everything stay magical when the world stops revolving around him then? Looks like he will find out soon enough. I understand I will probably receive criticism for this post. People will say I neglected him, so he had no other option but to leave. But let's not overlook the fact that he neglected everything in our life, so the slack was mine. This story is not new. Some spouses have been doing this for ages. And what is their reward? The spouse they tried so desperately to give a better life to leaves cheats. Is this manipulation? Is this me trying so hard to make everything easier for everyone else that I sabotage myself? All I wanted was an equal partner, but that's something that I never got. Mediation meltdown. So after weeks, no, correction, months, our mediation paperwork is completed. What a relief, or so I thought. While we had talked previously and agreed to everything, there was one section we never mentioned which our mediator added. It reads as follows: new partners, each part agrees that they will introduce a new partner to the children only if he or she is in a committed relationship for at least months. Each parent will inform the other party prior to introducing a new partner to the children. While that wasn't something that was discussed, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. My 𝗪𝗏𝗂 does not think that statement needs to be included in our legal agreement. His statement was, that's a conversation between you and I that a court or judge has no business being in. While I see his point, my point was this: we are divorcing. Nothing can be left to a handshake promise. We could agree to something verbally, and because we both have legal custody, we could renege on the agreement and deny access to new partners. Having this in black and white protects us both. He swore he wasn't signing it until that portion was removed. But if the mediator included it, then this must be common practice to do in a divorce. So this prompted me to ask, when does she plan to come here to visit? That must be the motivation, right? She must be planning a trip here soon, and he had plans to introduce her to the kids. He claims there are no plans for her to visit our area. Well, if that's the case, what's the harm with waiting 3 months? But let me be clear, to everyone reading, my motivation in this is the well-being of my children. Their father has just left. They need to become accustomed to this new ways of life with 2 homes and visiting hours before we complicate things more with a girlfriend or boyfriend. I've also made appointments for them next month. That was the soonest I could get, with a psychologist to help them process this divorce. Now is not the time to make this more complex. Every parent wants to nurture and protect their children. His AP waited 5 months to introduce him to her children. Why is it not okay for us to wait too then? Changes. I had to sit down this past week and really think. What is more important to me, my pride or moving on? I said from the beginning that I want him to be a father, to be involved and active in their lives. So, we made some changes last night. After a talk, plus an argument, followed by more talking, we altered our custody agreement to give him more time with the kids. I know from the past 10 years that he has never been an active father. Perhaps now he feels the need to be? Either way, I'm hopeful this decision will be a good one for the boys. Now I know many of you may say he is undeserving, but I'm making this decision and not regretting it because I know it is temporary. He will be moving in a year or so. Of this, I have no doubt. Once he packs up his belongings and he drives across the country, our arrangement will change. I'm a bit upset the children will become used to having him around, only to have him leave in a year. That was a big motivator in my reluctance to agree to this custody change. I have tried to make the best decisions for my boys and I feel like my 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗁 is just concerned with winning. I also got him to agree to put our new terms and terms for when he leaves, including the altered CS payments, in black and white in our mediation paperwork. I think the delay by our mediator to supply the paperwork led to him overthinking and wanting to change the agreement. He agreed in January, but now claims he never agreed to it. So I guess our mediator just created these terms which we discussed out of thin air? Okay, sure buddy. I also think his girlfriend chirped in his ear a bit about what he should do. I'm confident he told her what a wonderful and involved father he has been over the years, and I'm sure that prompted her to encourage him for more custody. Little does she know my 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗁 doesn't even have car seats in his car because he never takes them anywhere. He doesn't know their doctors' names. He doesn't know their quirks, and he has zero patience for them. But I'm sure he has claimed to be father of the year. Maybe the increase in custody will prompt him to move sooner? He took the boys for an overnight last week, and when he dropped them off he was grumpy. He claimed all he did was cater to them, didn't have time to eat and barely got any work done all day. Oh, you mean like me every day since you left? He's not prepared. But it's okay, I'm done sheltering him. These are your kids and now you can see what it takes to care for them and balance everyday life. Maybe now he will see why I never had the time or energy to cater to him. Boundaries. Last week was our final mediation meeting. My 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗁 claims that the mediation we had in January was not the final. I was happy that our mediator confirmed in the meeting that January's meeting was the final and his changes are an addition. Either way, it's done. Mediation completed. Now starts the actual divorce process. I told him that I'd like to start this ASAP and his response was, I know you want to rush through this, but this takes time and can't be done when you want it to be done. So hold on, let me get this straight. You were the one who cheated for months and has a girlfriend, but me wanting to complete our divorce paperwork makes me the one that is rushing to end the marriage? No, sir. You have rushed to end it. Actually, you ended it. Now we are just completing the paperwork, but the marriage was dissolved in September when you started sending her flowers. Or perhaps in October, when you started flying to her state during a pandemic to have sex. So pardon me, if I'd like to cut the cord legally. You have already severed it emotionally. Even though we aren't legally divorced, he has been taking the kids 3 to 4 nights a week on a rotating schedule. Truth be told, I'm happy he is stepping up, but my children don't like it. When I tell them they are going to daddy's, they cry. Because my ex lives in an apartment building, and my children have grown up in a single-family home. My oldest son calls his apartment a hotel, not a house. When they are there they miss me, and I feel terrible. On one of their first evenings there my youngest called me from his iPad 4 times. I wanted to give them space to be with their dad, but after the 5th phone call, I answered. My 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗁 was on the computer working, he showed me on the video call, and my youngest was left in his room to play. He was bored and seeking attention. I told him to play with daddy when he was done with his call, and I would see them soon. After we hung up I got an angry text from my ex telling me we need to practice boundaries when we have the children and respect each other's time with them. The children were now asking him when they come home. He said to me, this is their home as well, and they should know that. A few things about this. 1. If you were paying attention to the kids they would not call me. I understand you are working, but I work from home as well, and they are never calling you while I am here. I have to tell the kids to call you, and even then they don't want to. 2. Boundaries. You have been coming to the house every night on my days to say good night to them. So you can come to my home and see them for 45 minutes every night, but I can't answer my son's 5th phone call to me. Here's some boundaries, you can't come here anymore. He is very regretful he brought up this argument because it hurts him more than me. I have no problems playing fair, but you have to play as well. 3. If you want your kids to feel like your house is their home as well, then you need to tell them, not me. Okay, I get it, but they don't. So you need to have that conversation with them, not me. I've just resolved myself to the fact that I will always be the bad guy. The gymnast. I've always been flexible. Well, physically not so much with age, but flexible in situations, has never been a problem. My 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗁 fought me on a 50/50 custody agreement. One in which I agreed to. Our original agreement was for a 65/35 split, which gave him every other weekend plus a few dinner time visits in between. For someone who has never been an active father, this should have been enough. Apparently now he thinks he's super dad and wishes to take the lead. This would have been helpful years ago, but better late than never. He contacts me the other day telling me he will be picking up the kids for 2 overnights this week. Mind you, he is supposed to have the kids 2 days on 1 week and then 5 days the next week. I tell him that he can have the kids over the weekend as well. This is when he tells me he has several work trips and personal trip to see his girlfriend coming up, so he needs me to be flexible with the visits. Flexible? I thought you were the "I need to see my kids more" dad now. The dad who needed more time and less time and child support for me with his children. Where did that guy go? The month of April he has had the kids for 8 nights total. And when I mention this isn't 50/50, it's I'm the bad guy and need to be understanding to his work and personal life. Excuse me, I have work and a personal life too. Well, not really a personal life, but I hope to soon. Why do I have to be flexible to you, and you aren't to me? I told him I offered him the 65/35 split that would allow him more free time for work pleasure, and he didn't want it. He said I was steamrolling him into taking that agreement, and he wasn't happy with the time he'd have with the kids. Touched that he wanted more time with the kids. I agreed to this, and now that it's in black and white, I have to have the kids more and receive less child support because you can't keep up with the deal you wanted. I think in all honesty it wasn't about seeing his kids, it was about not giving me what I asked for. He says I rely too much on our agreement and that it's just a guideline, we don't need to live and die by it. But I think we do. It's a legal document about our children and our assets. So if we don't live and die by it, will you stop paying child support? Or maybe decide that you want things that are mine? It's just a piece of paper, right? For a man who lead a double life, had an affair, has a girlfriend, and wanted out of this house, he sure doesn't seem to want to face the reality of what a divorce actually is. So if he doesn't take the kids for his 50/50 visits, what are my options? Start this process again with another agreement? Take him to court? I think perhaps my best option is to not be flexible, and when the numbers don't add up we go back to court. I don't see any other option. Transparency. This past weekend was Mother's Day. It was a strange day this year, but still oddly more enjoyable than previous years. My 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗁 has been taking the kids on the schedule I created, and so far, no issues. He has yet to pay me any child support, but I will give him till the 15th till I make a stink about that. The boys were with him over the weekend, but he returned them on Sunday, so I could spend the day with them. I asked him, while he was here, if he called his grandmother yet. His grandmother is the only family, besides his equally unfaithful father, that he speaks to. He told me he spoke to her, and that he told her that we have separated. I was shocked. This was a big one. I knew it would be hard to tell her, and the news would give her a heart attack. He said she was upset, and shared some of their conversation with me. He told me he did not tell her why we split, only that we had. While not the whole truth, I was happy to see that he took this tough step. Fast forward a few hours later. His mother calls me. Her and I have a fairly good relationship, but my 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗁 is holding a grudge over things from the past and refuses to speak to her. I had asked if she heard the news from her mother. She was confused. Well, it turns out it was all a lie. He never told his grandmother. The conversation he said he had was never actually had. I speak to his sister as well, and find out after 13 years together that this runaway with a girl who will give me more attention is his 𝗪𝗲. She told me that before me, he lied to his girlfriend of 4 years that he was going to spend time with his dad, and it turns out he went away for the weekend with another girl. Now ain't that some shit? My lawyer will be serving him the divorce papers next week. When I told him for the second time that I was hiring a lawyer to do that papers and did not want us to do them ourselves, he got angry. He accused me of wanting to try something shady. No, sir. You have been shady enough for the both of us. When I reminded him that I've already brought this up to him and that I have been getting quotes from lawyers, he accused me of not being transparent. You're kidding, right? He will always be the victim, never wrong and always right. What other Reddit stories would you like us to read? Comment your suggestions down below.
If you want to hear more Reddit stories, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell to get notified whenever we upload new videos. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video.